Alright, so we're back in the world of Clair Obscure Expedition 33, and today guys we're going to be talking about my Monoco build. One of the comments I see a ton of in the Expedition 33 community is Monoco is underpowered and a weak character. Now this kind of took me aback because Monoco seems to be one of the most versatile, effective characters in the entire game, capable of doing pretty much anything, and seeing that he's actually so versatile, I wanted to make a build that just showed off a lot of his power. And to further cement that he's a pretty decent character, I limited this video specifically to 150 Luminous so that he has half the power as most of my other builds, making him much weaker than any other build I put on this channel because of these limitations. And if you're looking at any of the footage in the background, it's clear that we can decimate every bit of content with Monoco solo or with a team. I think Monoco is one of the most underappreciated characters in Expedition 33. Let me show you how to make my powerful almighty build. Alright, now that you guys have a better idea of what the build is about, let's go over the different parts and pieces. I'll show you a showcase of how to play him and just like him in different scenarios, so you guys just have a better idea of how the character works. And before we start guys, I'm gonna ask you guys consider liking as well as possibly subscribing to the channel. We're really trying to hit 20k subs here on the channel. I've been putting out a lot of content for Clair Obscure and a lot of other games you're probably gonna be playing this year. So leave me a like, subscribe to the channel. They don't cost you nothing and it helps me out so much. So yeah. So first things first, let's talk about our weapon. We're using the Joyaro. I think I said that right. And basically the reason why we're using this weapon is because when you start the battle, you're gonna start in Almighty Mask. Almighty Mask is the card that basically is some of the strongest abilities in the game. You really want to start an Almighty Mask to really get the benefit of his better skills. On level 10, you'll get 20% increased damage for each consecutive turn without taking damage, and this can stack up to 5 times, giving you over 100% increased damage, which is absolutely crazy. And then at level 20, break damage is double when in Almighty Mask. And while we won't be able to do the synergies of break in this build because we're limiting ourselves to 150 for the challenge that we're doing in this build to really show off how strong Monoco is, this has some insane break synergies that I definitely want to experiment with in the near future. With that in mind, let's go over a handful of the skills that are super important in my opinion. First, this one is going to be our bread and butter. It's called Sakapatate Fire, I think, and what this does is it deals extreme fire damage to all enemies and apply 3 hits, and it'll do 3 hits and apply 3 burns per target hit. And it does increase damage when you're Almighty Mask, which is actually pretty significant. The caveat to this is one, you need to go fight that monster to get it because you need his foot, and it also gives you it requires 9 to do so. It's a pretty expensive one, and that's why we use a lot of energizing stuff. We'll see in just a second. The other thing is it is a fire based ability, so whenever you're facing fire enemies, it heals them a ton, and that's why we will also use the Duelist Storm. And what this does is it deals extreme single target physical damage for hits, and it can break, and this is where break synergies really come into play because enemies get broken by this. It too also costs a lot of mana, or AP, sorry, and so you're gonna have to play around that. But regardless, if you're playing him in a team setting, which you probably will be, you'll be able to get this off because like someone like Sciel can easily help him and enable him. The other thing we do is Master's Light, and this will deal high light damage to all enemies 1 hit. And once again, this is going to be increased when you're in an Almighty Mask stance. And I think this is just another general one that sometimes I use. If I'm being honest, most of the time we use this one and then maybe the Storm for like those guys who are fire immune. But there are situations where Master Light comes into play. We use Clairs and Feeble sometimes, and this kind of helps when we're in the balance form. This one's for agile form, and then we'll use Aphelion Cheer when we're in caster form for AP because he can kind of help out with AP. He's a versatile character, so he actually has value, but as your primary DPS, you're probably just going to be spamming these two, sometimes on Master for the most part. Alright, next, let's go over the Pictos. There's not too many here because we're limiting ourselves to 150, but there's some explanation that needs to be had. So, of course, some of the normal ones we're going to be using at Death Storage, you could come to expect. Energizing Start, we should get Energizing Start 2. We don't have it, I don't know where is that, we'll go find it. First Strike, of course, so we can play first. Immaculate, Painted Power, Powerful Shield, and Midas Res. If we could get Shield Affinity, and that would give us way more shielding damage. And then there's like the other shield thing that gives us 2 more shield, and we could really ramp up this damage. We can increase the damage by way more, especially if we have Maelle doing her bit. We'll talk about Maelle in a second. We have Solo Fighter that will go on and off depending on what you're doing. Inverted Affinity, Blast Cannon, Critical Movement, and then Powering Last Stand. And then we have the one that I really need to talk to you guys about because I see it in my comment section a lot. We have Auto Death here. and then we have Survivor. Now, Auto Death and Survivor synergizes really well because what it does is Auto Death will kill you. But what Survivor does, it will make it so that you don't die and it puts you at 1 HP. Now, I see a lot in my comment section where people see this one called the 1 and it puts you at 1 HP. And there's a lot of misconception with this one that I'm going to clear up right now in this video because I think it's important so you guys know what, know what it actually means. What the 1 does is it puts you at 1 HP. This says your max HP is reduced to 1 HP. This does not mean that you are low life. When I use the on death kill thing in auto death and make me come up with survival, the 1 HP is negligible. What I'm trying to achieve is I'm trying to achieve low life. Because if you look at some of our other Pictos, for example, what is it, at death's door, you deal 50% more damage if your health is below 10%. That's a low life build. That's not 1 HP. 1 HP is considered full life at all times, and I did see a comment specifically that said that they saw it working with it, and that is also factually incorrect. What the 1 does specifically is gives you 108 crit, and while that is super good and it can make up for one of your Pictos, it still undermines the at death's door, which is a significant damage increase. Now, you can easily go test this when you go fight an enemy. When you fight an enemy, when they start to attack you, you will look at the right side of the person who has at death's door, and it'll show that it doesn't come up. And I tested it multiple times to make sure you guys understand. The 1 does not give you at death's door because you're not at death's door, you're at full HP. So I want to make sure you guys clearly understand this because some people are getting this confused and I don't want people like not understanding it. The 1 puts you at 1 HP, which is full life. This setup puts you in low life so that you can get all the benefits. Hopefully you guys understand that so we don't have any more confusion. But those are very significant differences, and they actually, there's some big synergies with both that you can work around. But for this build, you want low life. You don't want to be at 1 HP. That's pretty much it when it comes to the Pictos. Let's go over our 2 other characters, and then we're going to go do some showcases with Monoco solo as well as with the team so you guys can kind of understand how to play the build. And maybe we should look at stats before we go to the other character. Attributes for Monoco: agility, defense, might, and then 28 in luck if you have more points invested in him. Obviously you would have probably better things. You can, because Energy Master takes 40 basically, and so I can't afford to have a crit thing on my base, so I had to invest a little bit in luck to get 50 so I can guarantee the 50. So yeah, just throwing that out there. That's how you would build them, but naturally if you have more points, which would be like 190, you can easily put Energy Master in your basics, and then you would have 100% crit otherwise. So for Maelle, we're going to be using the Joyaro, and what this does is it applies shield, also applies 1 shield. Whenever you are level 10, on applying shields you give 1 AP, which is super good for Monoco. Then on switching to Virtuoso stance, you double all the shield on allies, and this is really big for Monoco and anyone who uses shields, because with some of the synergies we showed a second ago, this is going to give you more damage. I think is up to like 90% damage or something crazy like that total. So it's pretty big. Defensively it's good, and it's super easy to do with her because when you go to her skills, she has last chance, and last chance is going to put her into Virtuoso stance. It's going to proc the shield thing, and then it's going to double up his shield and everyone who has one. And then we're going to be using offensive switch, which puts defenseless on enemies when we hit them with it. She's going to go multiple times because of cheater, and she's going to last chance put the shield on, offensive switch, hit them with defenseless, and then it's just going to enable Monoco to do a lot more damage. Not that he needs it, I feel like I kill most things anyway, but still, that's more damage. If you really try to push for more insane DPS, you can do that. And then for our Sciel, she's going to still continue to use the I think this is like her best weapon, the Little. For those who are not familiar with it, what it does is whenever you're in Moon, allies will have greater rush. When you're in Sun, enemies will have greater slow. When you have you're in Twilight, you're going to give both those effects. And then whenever you have it at level 20, you're going to get 3 AP on applying buff or debuff on enemies. And this just gives you insane amount of sustain so that she can continue to buff allies. It's like a super supporting weapon. For Sciel's abilities, you're going to be using Fortune's Fury. This is going to give double damage on the next attack whenever you use it. And then for her other ability, is going to be Intervention. Targeted ally plays immediately and gain 4 AP. Both of these skills will buff you and give you the 3 AP each. So you'll be able to cast these spells without even doing anything, like 2 or 3 times. It's really, really nice synergy. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and go do a quick kill. I'm going to just do, I don't know, let's go. We're in the Reynard's what's this place? Reynard's Drafts. We'll just show you an example of it, and I'll show you an example of it when we're fighting with our allies and some other like towers or something. So we're just gonna start off with 9 and with 3 shield already, and just use that spell, and as you can probably tell, everything dies. He's really strong. I think he kills faster than my Maelle with 150 points. Now we'll see how that goes with Reynard, but his AoE clear is absolutely insane compared to the other characters. And I think that's where he shines specifically. He's such a really good AoE clearing enemy. Now obviously he has a hard time against some of the fire people, and that's just the nature of being a fire focus. He doesn't have good AoE fire resistant enemy clear. He does have good single target though, so that's, you know, where he comes into play. But as you can see, at 150 points, he just clears everything. It's not even a challenge. Now we're gonna go to Trial 11-2 and just show you this one. This is the second highest available thing I think in the game, and these guys are pretty meaty boys. And let's see how Monoco performs against these guys. So as you can tell, he absolutely decimates that. Alright, now we're gonna go do another one with the team, and I'm gonna just show you guys how I would do it with the team. And a very quick thing to show you guys real quick, obviously when you're playing with the team you don't need nearly as many of the solo stuff, so I'm just gonna or the energy stuff, because she kind of solved for it, Sciel. And so basically what we swap in is warming up, teamwork, and then we put in, what else did we put in? We put in shield affinity. So you would just take out the energy stuff and then just put teamwork and shield affinity and warming up, basically. And that she kind of covers your energy. If you're playing solo, you're gonna put the solo stuff in. I'm sure you guys kind of understand that, because there's a difference between a solo and a multi build, but still, just wanted to point it out. So we're gonna go in here, and I'm just gonna show you exactly how you would probably just play the build. So with Monoco, what's important to know about him is we want him to not take his turn to start with, because we want him to stay in the almighty mass phase. So we're just going to skip our turns, and that's really all we need to do with him. And once we get to Sciel, he's going to play, because every turn he takes, he gets 20% more damage, right? So that's kind of what we're doing. So with her, we're going to last chance, and this is going to apply shields, and that's going to double his shields to 6 now. So he has 60% increased damage plus the 30 he gets for having a shield, which is 90. He could get more if you have more shielding stuff, which you absolutely can do. But after that, we're going to go into offensive switch. Offensive switch is going to apply greater defenseless, because we have it on her, and she's going to get another turn. And we're going to do it again on this one, because I think these two can double. Yeah, they can. Of course, you know, we're going to go over to her, get the Fortune Fury, put it on him, so I can swap over and double up his damage. And then we're going to put Intervention on him to force his turn. And as you come to expect, he just got 60 increased damage on this one, plus double and all his buffs. And we're going to just the ability. So 1, 2, 3, they're dead. And so again, this is just an example of the build with 150 points. The toughest enemy in the towers, absolutely decimate them. It's not even close. Monoco is an absolute beast of a character. You can play him solo, you can play him in a team. We'll see how he does against what's the little bro's name, Simon. But for the most part, for the extreme vast majority of everything in the game, he can do a lot. And I think a lot of the reason why people don't really like him is because Maelle's just overtuned. I think she's just overtuned, but he's still a good character. Anyway, let me know down in the comments what you guys think about the build. Let me know what kind of builds you'd like to see. There's so many cool weapons in this game. I'm looking for suggestions. I'll happily make something that can work. What kind of limitations you want, those kind of things. That'll be cool. And yeah, leave me a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll see you guys in the next Clarepsky Expedition 33 video, probably tomorrow. Have a good one, guys.